Hello, folks, and welcome. I'm Kai, the Crafty Kai, and I'm super excited about this video. I will be doing a draw with me video, and I'm kind of going to do a voiceover to describe these characters that I have created, these art prints actually, and I'm working on a series for my Etsy shop launch. Now, this is, I'm going to say, for the rest of this month, it's going to be consistent with me bringing this up because I'm very excited and all of my time is just like spent focusing on this. So I'm going to be doing a collection. I've already sketched up all 8 of them, and the next few weeks I'm going to be showcasing a set of 2. This week is going to showcase the Cosmic and Crystal Witch Feline Familiars. So I'm doing a collection of 8 feline familiars of different type of witches. And I was really excited to kind of bring this idea to life. I really wanted to have a set of like prints available for my shop, and the design I'm going is really inspired by like fairy tales. I'm a big fan of like witchcore and all the different folklore and stories about witches. And of course, leading up to fall, the favorite season, it's witches season. I mean, witches season is all year round. And this whole idea for this 8-piece collection of art prints. And the theme was a moon. And the theme of like cats being the center theme of my whole collection for my launch, because that's the theme for everything. It's cats. And like, how do I intermingle like this fall witchcore aesthetic? And how do I like bring it all cohesive together? So cats is the main theme. And so I want to get into this first witch familiar, which is the Crystal Witch. And I love, like, I sketch all my drawings out before, and so I scan everything, and because it's just easier for me to like pen and paper, and then I'm learning digital art, and I really want to get like better. But yeah, so I did like a theme photo. So for the Crystal Witch, I really thought of like the Maine Coon, and how I thought of the Maine Coon cat as my cat for the Crystal Witch. And so I found a few like ideas, and here I am like setting up my video. So I have like this like lovely, it's like a beautiful mane on that blue one, and then I'm like looking for like cottage core aesthetics, like the Scandinavian cottage. I like that part of the wood and these kind of aesthetics. And then the crystal, like this is where I have my inspiration pictures, and I put it all together so I have it as my reference. I did like a rough background drawing, and background drawings for me is like brand new. And this is where I have like the inspiration for a set of like tarot cards almost. And I loved the clo. If you've ever seen the show Card Captures Sakura, like this was like when I was a kid, I was on Teletoon. I loved the clo cards. I thought that was so cool. So that's kind of like where I had a little bit of inspiration for the background, for like to make the card look. But I started off initially with this picture, trying to do digital art style with like slats and woods. It wasn't working out, so I just like decided, I'm like, I'm gonna scratch it, start off from the first part. It's just like retracing my sketch. I'm like, I retraced this cat a bunch of times because I couldn't figure out how I was going to do the background, the midground, and the foreground. So here I am, I'm just like trying to do wood. Like, how am I going to do wood? I'm like, a lot of it is a texture. And when I was looking at digital artists, and I'm like, it's beautiful stuff. The way they work with like hues and saturation to get the right shades, and I was just like, I have no experience for that. So I had to go back to what I knew and what my inspirations for like illustration come from. So definitely strongly anime, like Card Capture Sakura. Cardcaptor Sakura. And Studio Ghibli movies, of course, like Spirited Away, my all-time fave, was a big inspiration. And Howl's Moving Castle. Howl's Moving Castle more strongly for a crystal witch, I think, is a good like setting for just like the chaotic clutter. I feel like very much fits in the crystal witches kind of style. But I didn't show how I drew this together, but I went with like window pane shutters that would be like glass stain, and I thought, how beautiful would that be if I could like create that for real and have like these cool stained glass window shutters on like a wooden cottagey core. Yeah, like that would look so pretty and like light shine through. So I had done that as my background. So initially when I was looking at background tutorials and they're saying like, oh, it's the background, it's like blurred out. And I'm like, I can't. I have to add more details. More details. I think this is the illustration art styling that I have more just visual experience seeing, and I really liked how it's done. So as I progressed through to the mid-ground, I did like this little kind of shelf, crystal witch shelf, and I'm like, that's like, it feels like that's a standard. The crystal witches would have like this little kind of like altar, I guess, in a sense, but you would put your main, like this feline familiars witch would have her main crystals, and I put like turquoise tourmaline, I think like the green and red jasper, and then of course the classic like amethyst and rose quartz were kind of where I inspired, because I am a fan of crystals. Like I have a lot in each of my room. But the inspiration for kind of like why I chose the Maine Coon for the Crystal Witches Familiar was, I just, for one, look at this image of this Maine Coon. Like that is a beautiful mane of hair. And I kind of had this association that this crystal witch would have like really like a beautiful lion's mane of hair, kind of like blonde, like big and voluminous, and just very like kind of like a bubbly, almost give me like Phoebe from Friends kind of vibes a bit. So I thought the Maine Coon was really gorgeous, and then having this like a cool like chunky collar made out of like a gold with like gemstones and crystals dangling with a tiara, because what cat would wear a tiara? This Crystal Witches Familiar will have a tiara with a little matching bangle. And then I had like just emphasizing more details, like, okay, I like, there's of course going to be like a little candle holder and another crystal, like which one is that one? I actually have one of the inspirations, I can't remember what this one's called. I have to look it up, but like it was kind of inspired by this one, and a couple pieces of lavender, and like a quill with like ink, and just adding like those little finessing details of the desk, adding like those little loops and swirls, had like an emphasis of like a fairy tale cottage, and adding that vine that was definitely missing out of the background, so I like added more details by adding some of the vine, and yeah. The next one I have up is the Cosmic Witch. So I again scan this picture and like outline it roughly for the cap. Mainly I outline a bit of the cap, but I was going to do this one a bit differently. A bit different than the Crystal Witch, because my inspiration I drew from were these kind of like bluey tones with like just very mystical. A Cosmic Witch is so mystical to me, and they look to like the cosmos to find the answers in the universe and the astrology and divination of that. And so I had like Van Gogh, I don't think that's Van Gogh's Starry Night, but that was like a painting that's influenced by Van Gogh's Starry Night, and that's kind of what influenced me. I pulled in someone had, I love this cosmic witch digital art that I found on Pinterest. Like these are all, I find like some inspiration keynotes to try to base some of my ideas. I like, especially for the backgrounds. I'm learning background art, and so I need a lot more inspiration and trying to figure out how I'm pulling it together. So I went with like a background that's like very painting style, with that Van Gogh Starry Night as my original inspiration, and having these few other ones that I found with the texture. I love texture in art, and I do that with my clay art. It's just like adding texture is so fun with painting, and how to get it like movement. So this was the movement that I tried to create with the sky and like the moon like cycle, putting it into the full moon and sun. That I always see that in with like it's very iconic cosmic witch aesthetic. And part of this like cosmic witch, I feel like this character would be, all the ceremonies would be happening at night and under different cycles of the moon, especially when the stars are out. And they would have like this setup of like, kind of like the witches that do like the ceremonial circles around and have dances and chants at night. And I put this familiar within a fairy circle too, because I love the mushrooms. To incorporate mushroom art is kind of fun. I love doing I have some ideas too for mushroom art in the future. But having that like fairy circle, which I know it's the whole story of like the power and portal of the fairy circles and what they represent. So I kind of want to add that as like, it's a powerful ceremony that's happening. The last bit that I had thought the night before finishing off this drawing, because I left it for the next day to like finalize the details, was to have an ethereal, because I was like, oh, it's very important to have a ceremonial tool, especially when you're working with like within a fairy portal, you would want to have like, make sure your circle is safe and you're protected. And of course, that's what the sword FM represents. So yeah, I really enjoyed making both of these digital art. It was like my first time really going full out and trying to add as much details. I've done like little, like my sticker collection, I've done a little bit, and I was like gradually working my way up. And then you could see like this is the final for the cosmic witch. I'm so happy with what they look like, art that you would find like on a tarot card. And that's really what I think is so special about, starting with these two as part of my feline familiar collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or, like to drop some words of wisdom and kindness down below, I always appreciate that. But I'm so happy how this turned out. If you had to choose, which witches familiar would you have as a cosmic witch or a crystal witch? And of course, there are those who are multiple types of witches. Like, you may not lean towards one or the other. You may have a mix of what you enjoy, and I definitely have a mix of what I enjoy, and this is two of the things that I enjoy. So I love both of them equally. They have a really great both of them have just like a different story they're telling, and I really love that, where there's that bright and airy crystal and dark and mysterious cosmic, and they both interplay with one another. And as you can kind of see, where I have some similar not theories, but what is it? Themes. There you go. I have similar themes in both of them, where they have like the moons and the stars and sun and the moon. The sun and the moon. That's what I meant. They both have the sun and moon kind of represented in some way. They both have some jewels and candles and fire and flames. It kind of feels like very much all four elements are involved in both of them, which, there's the flame, there's the air, and somehow either the movement or like, I find like, yeah, That's, I don't know where I'm babbling on with this. I'm just happy how both of these turned out. So the next and a last step is to do a test print on some paper. I went to go today, but I did not find the right kind, so I have to order a bunch of supplies. But that's it for today's video. This was a really fun project to work on. It took me probably 4.5 to 5 hours to do the Crystal Witch familiar, because looked at the detail alone, and the fact that I was making mistakes a lot trying to learn, like, how am I going to do wood, like what am I adding, and like I've got a slanty window, but that's okay. It kind of leans into what you would see in like a fairy tale novel with some illustration in it. That it's like definitely giving that vibe of or Kiki's Delivery Service. Like that's really where that kind of, it has like a really fun and youthful energy to it. Whereas like the Cosmic Witch, it just feels very with that something or other. There's something unique and just other about a Cosmic Witch, where, using the powers of the universe to divine, what the skies and the moons and planets, the planets and stars are telling you. So yeah. But they still are consistent with my cat theme. So anyways, I'm just so happy and excited to be able to have this as a product. And I was trying to think of something to include with, like, pottery pieces and hand building pieces are part of like my collections items, and I love like stationery, and I was just wondering how I could flow all of like the different interests together. And so this is kind of having a print collection was kind of interesting to do, and challenge myself to learn a bit more on digital art. But yeah, I think then for the so just if you're interested in the next few weeks, if you want to follow for more of this series of collection for the feline familiars, please, subscribe to my channel and follow me for more. I really can't wait for the next. The next 6 sets. No, for the next 6 prints to make and design. They're all going to be very different in some sense, but again, keeping with the cat theme and some other themes that are going to be pretty consistent throughout. I may lean back and forth between having painting style influence or the illustrated style, which I do love to do. It's just, it takes so much more time because the other one with the Cosmic Wish, that took me like 3 hours. That took me 3 hours. So, and I felt a lot more like loose with it. I wasn't overcorrecting so often, like trying to get lines straight. I have a very shaky line, but practice. This is actually this by doing this, the amount of hours I'm investing in like drawing these prints is benefiting me in the sense that I'm growing as an artist, which is always fun. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Kai, the Crafty Kai, and that's it for this one. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.